Hello, everybody. My name is Jim Farmer. I'm the festival director of Out on Film, Atlanta's LGBTQ Film Festival. This is our 38th year, and we're having an amazing festival. I'm so happy about our programming. One of the films that we all love is She's the He, which is playing it out on film this Thursday, October the 2nd at 9 o'clock at the Midtown Arts Cinema. I'm going to read a brief description and then introduce you to a lot of the creative team. On the last week of school, Alex and Ethan pretend to be trans women to get into the girls' locker. It's all a joke until Ethan realizes she really is trans. Now, Alex and Ethan must reckon with their changing friendship in the messy process of coming out. I'm so happy to introduce Siobhan McCarthy, director and writer, Haley Albert, producer, and Vic Brandt, the producer as well. Thank you all. I met most of you, I think, at Frameline, and I'm so excited that we're showing this film. But thanks for sharing this film with our audience, and thanks for taking the time to chat with us today.
Of course.
Of course.
So,
Yeah, it was so nice to meet you there and see you again.
thanks so much. I'd love to start with, how did this project come up?
I started this project with Vic because we were working on a film together prior. And during the process of getting that film together and trying to get it made, we were having the experience of coming up against sometimes some of the roadblocks that trans storytelling faces in Hollywood. And essentially, this just started as a lark. It was us wanting to tell something that was a genuinely joyous, genuinely fun trans story, which was just something that we not only felt like we were not seeing enough of, but that we were also having some difficulty getting made with that prior film.
Yeah,
And so I wrote this film basically in the span of 3 days with one of my very best friends and then sent it to Vic after 3 days. It was like, haha, wouldn't it be crazy if we made this? And Vic, being, the incredible partner in crime they are, was like, yeah, it would. Let's do it. And, a year later, we were at South by.
well,
I'm not kidding. Jim Shiv literally was like, "What if I wrote a even more trans, more fun, happier movie?" And I was like, "Yeah, that could be cool." And then didn't hear from them 3 days, and they just sent me a new script, and I was like, "Great, let's run it."
that's great. Hallie, how did you come into the picture?
I was brought in a few months later, and they were already on a roll of trying to figure out how we were going to get the project up in a few months. We, had this plan to shoot in July. I think I was brought in February, end of February. So, yeah.
That's,
We really needed a Haley Albert to pull all the pieces together because me and Shiv are kind of live on Mars half the time, and Haley does uh, generally live on Earth for that,
Yeah.
which helps us.
We're a really good team in that we like think like we catch each other, right? And so we think about the things that, we need to remind each other and bring, because you need to figure out how to get a project going in a few months. It requires like every single brain cell. So yeah.
I'd love to hear you talk about Alex and Ethan and their friendship and what all they're going through right now as the film opens.
Yeah, the film opens in the position that I think a lot of queer people have found themselves in, where maybe there's an inkling at the back of your brain that you might be queer, that might exist, but it's too far back there and it's not actually tangible enough that you could know it or name it or even really consider it. And you're trying to figure out how to move forward with the end of your friendship as you're going off to college. What is that going to mean to be an adult? What does it mean to try to develop into someone who exists within adult relationships? Alex is in the position that I feel like I've seen so many cis guys end up in, where they're trying to figure out how they fit into the world of their own desirability and how to navigate sex and how to navigate relationships and how to navigate crushes in a way that is either responsible or irresponsible, and navigating that pressure between, I think, a lot of the ways that toxic masculinity pressure men to behave badly when you might be in friendships or might be close with people who aren't necessarily going to agree with that. And so as they're taking off into this movie, they're right at that last moment of high school, they're right about to graduate,
Yeah,
nothing is started yet, but everything is just teed up so that, when that inciting incident in the movie happens, it could all go off like a cannon.
And
exactly.
I think also what Ethan's character taps into so much that I resonate with, and I know Shiv does too, is like when you're in high school and people are bullying you for a queerness that you haven't even don't really understand and haven't even accepted yet. Like I know that happened to me and I was like,
Mhm.
what am I missing if everyone else knows? And I think that bullying or that actually has some truth in it is something a lot of queer people can relate to happening to them in high school.
Exactly. The film feels very modern, but also sort of a throwback to 80s high school films. But on top of that, it's just very, very funny. But just talk about the approach to making this.
I mean, we definitely were so lucky to have so many incredible queer collaborators on this. Like this was a movie that me and Vic, now looking back, it feels like we spent years making, even though we only really made this in a year, because me and Vic have been working with queer people and working with trans crews for so long prior to this and building our community in Los Angeles that were enabled us to make this movie for many years before even getting this up and going. And so both making this movie on a talent level that you see in front of the camera, but also on everyone behind the camera really was a labor of love and an incredible labor of queer community. I mean, like I feel so lucky to have Vic in this experience with me because they just keep human beings protected and cared for and loved in a way that I have not seen out of a lot of production. And that was so much of what it felt like to make this thing. Not only being around that many queer people, being around that many trans people, but also creating a space where someone like Nico Carney could come in and make 50,000 jokes every single day and just rattle them off to me at the beginning of each day of shooting. Or we could go in and pick which ones were the funniest. Or Malia could feel like she had the space to
Mhm.
just throw crazy stuff at the wall as Sasha and really bring that character to life. I mean, so much of what you see on screen and so much of, I think, what I hope bleeds through the screen is the joy of all of those people and the experimentation of all of those people and the freedom that I really think all the cast felt in being allowed to not only be themselves, but also to really take big swings, to take big swings in comedy, to take big swings in emotion, to take big swings in ideas that aren't necessarily always allowed in a space that might feel a little bit more stringent or a little bit more pressure or a little bit more constrictive.
Earlier, I heard the comment, the obstacles of trans stories. Can you all talk about the obstacles of trying to get trans stories made, told in Hollywood?
I mean, yeah, me and Vic have at this point a lot of experience with this one. Yeah, I mean, it's only gotten harder. It's funny to now be answering that question, I guess, when we were, going to try to make that first one in 2023, and then we were making this one in 2024. Um, because I mean, it's an ever-changing landscape. It keeps changing, it keeps getting more difficult. I think that the roadblocks that we were coming up against then are different than the roadblocks that we are coming up against now. Um, and really, I mean, so many of the roadblocks, especially right now, are just truthfully that people are very scared of touching transness from their on a business interest perspective. Companies, places that have money, places that have maybe more at stake from their perspective are very fearful that if they engage with transness in any way, that somehow that's going to wrap back around and hurt their bottom line or hurt their market capital or, hurt their perspective or their presentation in the world, or at least in America.
And
Um,
I think like which has always been the MO that most queer people have felt is like the gen pop of it all doesn't like execs or whoever this theoretical Hollywood doesn't want like isn't ready because it hasn't been made. They don't want to tell happy stories. They're so used to telling tragedies and we're so used to only getting queer tragedies, especially only getting trans tragedies seen on screen. So
Yeah.
to come at it where we're like, we are refuse to give you a tragedy. Like this is for to show the joy and the good that can happen. And we all know to be true, along with the tragedies that we all also know to be true.
Yeah.
This is what we need to see on screen. And that's like a huge thing we constantly come up against is like this, like, well, where's the tragedy? And we're like, there isn't one. That's the point.
That's the point.
Can all of you or just talk a little bit about the comfort of being on a set with so many queer people, trans people, and just the comfort level of, you know, just that comfort level.
I mean, it it is definitely a unbelievable privilege. It is something that, me and Vic have both been working for a while in this industry, and I think in the last couple of years we've managed to really build our family and build the family that we bring onto everything. It's just been an unbelievable joy to get to not only come to work every day and see queer people and see queer people thriving and having a positive experience, but just, I mean, gosh, it's, the thing about queerness that is so incredible, the thing that is incredible to witness throughout history with queerness is the way that community has allowed us to thrive and to stay alive and to make incredible things. And so it is funny because it's both this like amazing microcosm and it's crazy and it's weird and it's hard to make a movie, but it also ends up, at least for me, reflecting so much history of just how we have forever come together to make sure that we stay alive, that we stay here, that we stay existing, we stay telling stories. It's just, I mean, a miracle to see every time. Every time I enter a queer neighborhood, every time I get to be in a queer space, even this movie, it's always such an incredible, incredible thing to witness.
Great. Haley, if I'm correct, the film premiered at South by Southwest this year.
Yes,
You're sort
world
of,
premiere at South by Southwest. Correct.
congratulations. Hey, can sort of talk about your festival run, the important, what it was like to see the film and in a big festival, South by Southwest for the first time, and sort of where you are right now with your festival run and where you think the film will eventually land.
I think that we've had to learn as we go about what the film needed to do and what our audience needed. And so there's so many different ways to go about your film's festival strategy. And I think we found this really nice in between of going, okay, we need to strategize and try to go for the bigger festivals that give us an ability to help us just make a sale at the end of the day. But also, and I think we would keep coming back to this one, was we really needed to make sure that this film was accessible right now. That was the whole point of getting this movie made last year. Vic and Shiv were gunning it for a reason. We needed to get it done before, the election. And I was so honored to just be able to help with that. So, all of us together have strategized and figured out, well, what does it make sense for us in terms of making putting ourselves in theaters and then marketing ourselves. And that's such a weird thing to do at one point because you're just like, well, how do you make this feel exactly what it is? It's a very genuine, authentic, fun, irreverent comedy, but
Mm.
also sell it to, people. And I think that we've just found that it doesn't matter. We're in a really interesting time, and I think we just need to focus on the story and focus on what makes this film, authentic, and then try to get it to, be known.
I think also something that's been interesting with the festival run has been, I think, obviously, historically, queer audiences have been like undervalued or like just that people don't realize how big the audience is that wants stuff like this. And like, I'm not going to name names, but at a lot of film festivals, they have had to put us in a bigger theater because our screening sells out so quickly and more people want tickets. And
Absolutely.
I think that speaks to that larger thing of like people not fully grasping how badly movies like these are needed and how badly people want them and how much the queer community really is like grasping at whatever they can get. And we're trying to give them something authentically made by the community for them. So when they see that, they're like, holy shit, like I gotta get in there.
This has sort of been covered before, but final question. Just talk to me about the importance of having this film right now when it's such a dire time for our community with this administration. I mean, what's it like having just such a, queer joy in this project?
I mean, I think Vic, already tapped into it, but I think that this is the most important thing, at least the three of us can be doing right now. I really think that not only seeing queer joy represented on screen, but seeing queer joy represented by so many queer people of so many different identities, of so many different presentations. I mean, that is such a miracle. It is not only incredibly important to be happy and to show happiness and to show yourself as a joyous individual, even under the most intense circumstances. But also, like, comedy is such an incredible weapon against fascism, against oppression. Comedy has always been such an incredible way to push back against any kind of oppressive regime. And so I just feel so lucky. I mean, gosh, I don't think any of us really thought how bad things would get by this point. And so, I mean, I don't know. I'm amazed and I feel so lucky to have even gotten to make this thing. And I feel like more than anything right now, at least for us, showing that joy and showing that joy, especially for kids, is at least the future that we can present and the future that I really hope to move towards.
Great. Thank you all so much. The film is She's the He. It screens at Out on the Film on October the 2nd at 9 o'clock. We'll have actually a Q&A with Malia Piles from the film there as well. Haley, Siobhan, Vic, thank you so much for sharing this film with our audience. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us today. And I cannot wait to get this out to our Atlanta audiences.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everyone say hi to Malia.
Hi, Malia.
So excited about this. Thank you all so much. I'm going to stop right now.